Good morning, everybody. Thank everybody for coming out to Sunday school this morning. Had quite a few out this morning traveling on vacation. I come upstairs and I asked if it was homecoming. We got Brother Hadley in the back, Brother Bond up here, so we're glad to have y'all with us this morning. Sunday school starts at 9 o'clock every Sunday. Got a lot of great teachers going through the book of Psalms, so come out and enjoy that with us. And with that being said, I'll turn the service over to Brother.
Good morning. Good morning. Welcome each of you out to our service today. And our way of announcements, remember our Wednesday night service at 6 o'clock. The deacon of the week is myself. My phone number is in there, and I can be reached for that. Our pastor's away this week on vacation. If there's any need in the congregation, feel free to call your deacon or call them anytime. Upcoming events. The last Sunday of July, which is next Sunday, the youth will be taking a noisy offering to help strengthen their funds for future ministry opportunities. What this is any spare change that you've got, bring it next Sunday and bring it and give it to our youth. They do a lot of work in our community, a lot of opportunities they have and things that they do, and it's a great way for them to build their ministry. If you have your bulletin there, you can see in our prayer list, and keep these in your thoughts and prayers. And also in youth baptism, Saturday, July the 29th, from 1 o'clock to 4 o'clock, they will be having a water Sunday, and this is for all ages. There will be water slides, water balloons, and more. And also it says if you didn't order a green and gold shirt, if you'd like to sign up, the sheet is in the foyer. And the deadline is August the 6th. And also, if you have a younger child or youth who have not ordered, please write your name and sign. The youth will have all theirs for free. Adults will have to pay for theirs. Are there any other announcements we need to make this time? If not, then stand with us. Lord, lead us in our call to worship.
Good morning, everybody. Number 168 in the New England. I'm sorry. It's been a long time since I was up here. 207.
Have you been to Jesus for the cleansing out? Are you washed in the blood of the Lamb? Are you fully trusting in His grace this hour? Are you washed in the blood of the Lamb?
Be with the message, Lord. Help us to have an understanding of your word that we need, Lord. We ask that you guide us through it. Help us to use in our lives each day. Help us to grow our faith through this, Lord. Lord, we ask that you be with us each day and guide us. Help us to be a witness in everyone we meet, Lord, and everything we do. And Lord, we thank you for blessing us the way you do each and every day. These things we ask in Jesus' name. Amen.
Amen. faithful are here, and I'm glad to see you guys here. I want to start out with, if we go to the book of 1 Timothy, we see that Paul is writing to a young man that he's going to put in charge of the church at Ephesus. But their history doesn't start there. Paul's association with Timothy probably took place very much in the age that you young people are sitting right here. 15 years before he was put in charge of the church at Ephesus, Timothy was just a young lad, much like you guys right here. And Paul saw something in that young man that really made him pay attention to teaching him whatever he could teach him and to try to lead him along the right path. Evidently, Timothy fulfilled all his promise, and Paul was satisfied to put him in charge of the church at Ephesus while Paul went to Macedonia. He writes Timothy a letter, and he says in that letter, "You are my spiritual son." And when Paul said those words, I'm sure that he meant that he was just as close to him as if he was his natural born child, and he had great regard for Timothy. Now, wandered a little away from the thing that I wanted to say this morning, to say that Timothy was worthy of Paul's attention. He was a young man that Paul took under his wing and taught a lot of things. And you guys were young in the early part of this month when we had vacation Bible school. And some of you may remember some of the things that you did. But I want to tell you my impression when I was working down in the kitchen, when I saw all the youngsters, mostly the ones that were in charge of different things, some of them are sitting right here today, that actually worked as adults in the Sunday school, in the vacation Bible school. And they did a terrific job. They were mature, well beyond their years. They paid attention to what they were teaching. They extended their help to everybody that was in there. We had some of the youngsters that were actually taking care of babies. They were packing them around on their hips just like they were mothers. They were feeding them. They were taking care of them, making sure that they came to the right places at the right time and kept the appointments that they had to. It couldn't have happened without the youngsters' help, along with the adults that were taking care of that vacation Bible school. So I want to commend each one of you that had a part of that, and I know that you know that the Lord appreciates your work that you did. The Lord appreciates the effort that you put out, and the Lord appreciates the faith that you had to come and serve every day we had vacation Bible school. So that being said, I won't push this any farther, but I just want you to know that all the adults in this church recognize what you did and look forward to the next vacation Bible school when you'll even have a greater part in teaching. And we hope that we're going to be here to participate the way we always do. So everybody, congratulations on the work that was done earlier this month. Well noticed and well appreciated. Now, before we put the offering in this jar here, we're going to have the course there, and I've got three for you. I apologize to your parents for bringing you sweet stuff, because I know that lately it's been kind of more healthy stuff, but we'll make sure that you brush your teeth well after you enjoy that. And on the way home, well, I'd ask you like I usually do, please don't unwrap the stuff, leave the wrappings in the church. Take them with you. Even wait till you get going on the way home before you start enjoying this stuff. Leave the wrappers and things in Dad's car. All right. Dear Lord in heaven, we thank you for these children. We thank you for the people who participated in the vacation Bible school earlier this year. Stands as an example, Lord, just very much like Paul saw in young lad Timothy when he took him under his wing and trained him to be an effective leader in the church at Ephesus. Lord, someday these children that are before us here will be leading this church. They'll be standing as examples to other youngsters. You've started them out on the right path, Lord, and we thank you for that. We thank you for the ability for us to participate in their lives and to be a part of their worship life. Thank you, Lord, for letting us be here today and Thank you. Go ahead, take whatever.
Would you stand please for offertory hymn? This time it's 247.
They're all free.
Many times I have wondered at the sights of that city, and all that my eyes shall behold. I will see all the wonders when I enter that city, there forever to be safe in His fold. Some morning you'll find me touring that city, where the Son of God is the light. You'll find me there on the streets so free, and those so pure and so bright. With Jesus, the one who gave me the victory, who led me across the divide. Some morning you'll find me touring that city, where with you I'll ever abide. Here on earth we have troubles that to us seem so heavy, but in heaven no one will be sad. Mom and Dad will be singing, heaven's praise will be ringing, for the dearest friend I ever had. Some morning you'll find me touring that city, where the Son of God is the light. You'll find me there on the streets so free, made of gold so pure and so bright. With Jesus, the one who gave me the victory, who led me across the divide. Some morning you'll find me touring that city, where with Him I will ever abide.
All you listen from you.
We give you thanks for this day, this opportunity to come to work and to your house. We thank you for everything that you allow us to have. We have nothing. There is nothing without you, Lord. Let's each and every person today turn the portion of all we have to you. For all we thank you ask in Jesus' name.
Amen.
This morning, we have Brother Leo and Wanda expecting you to give them.
Folks say this is the whole thing. There's everything in my life that's something the matter with, that's one thing. When Jesus met and I met him, that endureth forever.
Amen.
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 And here's a song. I've often told my family, and there's said two girls, but that's we're glad to hear. If ain't some old time preacher around to say something, last words over me, just sing this song right here. That'll be all right. Hope you like it. If you should reach heaven before I arrive, and live that blessed astray, remember to meet you on earnestly strive. Just look for me at the gate. Just look for me at the gate. You'll not have long to wait. I'm surely prepared to meet you there. Just look for me at the gate. I have loved ones and friends who are happy up there, and they for my coming away. Rejoice in the you I've been here to prepare. Just look for me at the gate. Just look for me at the gate. You'll not have long to wait. I'm surely prepared to meet you there. Just look for me at the gate. Such wonderful singing up there you will hear, and meet our dear Savior so great. He's watching for me as the crossing is here. Just look for me at the gate. Just look for me at the gate. You'll not have long to wait. I'm surely prepared to meet you there. Just look for me at the gate.
Thank you, everyone. This morning, we're glad to have Brother Bond with us and bringing God's message to you.
I'll let you down. You may have to put me up there.
I told some of them I was going to tell them, I brought my cheering section this morning with me. Appreciate Brother Hadley and Mary Lou being with us this morning. James and Aaron and Will and Whitley and Waylon. I got to get his name out. He thought he was going to have to sit with me, and Aaron come up by aisle, and I reached out, and he said no. But he's my buddy if we're riding something. And anyway, but we appreciate them coming this morning. And Mark and Lindsay is one of two places this morning. I haven't heard any different. So Mark was preaching at Green Hill, and if he's not there, they're in Glasgow Hospital, but we've sure heard of them. He said, Daddy said, they want me to preach out there today. He said, what do I do if Lindsay has to go to the hospital? I said, well, do like I done when you was born, just leave. Yeah. He He was born on Mother's Day that morning early. Some of you might remember. And I got back to church between Sunday school and preaching. Somebody asked me the other day what a preaching, and told me I didn't know. And probably won't know when I get through this morning either. But let me say, I've rambled a little bit. Let me ramble just a little more. Appreciate Brother Leo and Wanda and them singing. Brother Leo probably don't remember this, and but I'll get by telling it. The day that I was to be voted on that night at the board meeting to accept the job as director of missions, pastor here, and I was getting a shower, getting ready to go to the board meeting. And Brother Leo called me and he said, "Is the Lord in this? Is this what you need to be doing?" You may not remember that phone call, but I remember. And I said, "Yes, Brother Leo, the Lord's in it, and this is what I've got to do." He said, "I'll be there to back you up." And he has been 20-some years. And I appreciate that. He was pastor over at Mount Carmel at the time, and I appreciate his friendship and his support through those years. If you allow me this morning, I want to share part of my testimony, some things that's happened in the last couple of years. God has really been good to us. God's been good to me and Connie. Through the years, He's blessed us more than we deserved as pastor here, and through the work of the association, and through being sent different places by the convention, that God has used us and sent us places that I've never dreamed about going. Then in the last 2 years, God has opened the door in a different direction. Found out 2 years ago this month, in July, I think it was July the 19th, but found out that I had pancreatic cancer. Now, you medical people, I'll just be honest, I didn't know anything about the pancreas. Didn't know what it done and what to expect. But I soon learned, soon found out, in visiting doctors and things, that it was a lot more serious than I thought. And I was on a different side to where I'd been. And you let me share something, be personal just a minute. She doesn't know I'm going to do this. Her grandfather had a little store on 88, Holly McAfee. And when I first announced my call into the ministry and started, I stopped there one day, and he had major surgery and had some problems. And he said, "I want to talk to you." And without going into a lot of details, he showed me some things that they had done to him. And he said, "The reason I'm doing this," he said, "and what you're fixing to do, what you're going to do," he said, "you're going to see a lot of things, deal with a lot of people." And he said, "You need to understand some of this." And I sat and talked to Mr. Pauly that day for a while, and we talked about it. Now, he was a guy with a little different. I'd stop there and get a bologna sandwich and a ski, and he might tell you he had ketchup to put on it, and he might tell you if you wanted ketchup, buy your own bottle. Never know what he was going to say or do, but he was a help to me there and wanted to be a help in the beginning. And I went on through those years and as pastor here and then through as director of missions and working with the fire departments and ambulances and seen a lot of things that I was always on the side trying to bring comfort or bring peace. I was reminded after I got sick about one night when I stepped in between a lady in the corner at the hospital and kept the corner from getting slapped. And saw a lot of serious things. But as I said, I was on the other side of that. And I guess I got a little hard-hearted and hardened by some of that. But then 2 years ago, I found myself on the receiving side. I found myself as the person that needed help. And I remember sitting there in Louisville in the doctor's office, and he looked at me and he said, if you've got anything that you need to do, you need to go home and get it took care of. And this was a doctor that prayed with me in his office. This was a doctor that would sit down and explain things to you. But he said, I'm just going to be honest with you. He said, God's give you a warning. And he said, if you need to do anything spiritually, or you need to do anything physically or financially, he said, you need to go home and do it. Because he said, you've got roughly 2 years to live. And we began to pray and put on a lot of prayer requests. And I found myself at a time that I couldn't talk my way out of it. I couldn't buy my way out. I couldn't do anything except trust the Lord and those people He'd put me in contact with. And I was at a point that I had to trust people and believe people and what they was telling me. And I've got 3 different sets of scripture, a couple of verses at a place. In Romans, the 14th chapter and the 8th verse, it said, for whether we live unto the Lord. And whether we die unto the Lord. Whether we live therefore or die, we are the Lord. Now I knew that. I'd been in church all my life. One of the reasons that I think so much of Brother Hadley and Mary Lou, they was my pastor when I got saved, and Brother Hadley baptized me and he baptized Connie, and then came back and did our wedding. And I have sat and listened to some of the best preachers through the years. And then I knew all of this, but it just began to hit home then. And then I began to think about the Lord being in control, and he was talking about there, Paul talking about whether he lived or died. And one of my scriptures that I've loved so through the years is the 24th Psalms. And the first 2 verses said, the earth is the Lord's and the fullness thereof, the world and they that dwell therein. For he he hath founded it upon the seas and established it upon the floods. We talked about that in Sunday school class this morning. How that the God of creation created everything and placed it in being, and it's still there. And I knew that the earth was the Lord's, and I knew that it all belonged to Him. And then in the 50th chapter of Psalms, and the 10th verse, the psalmist David said, "For every beast of the forest is mine, and the cattle upon 1,000 hills." And I began to think about this, and you're going to say, some of you's going to say that preacher's crazy, and it shouldn't bother him that way, but I want you to listen at some things this morning that I've got to say about that. There's been three things important to me in my life. One of them is my call into the ministry and the Lord's work. And it's hard for me to separate the first two and say one's more important than the other, but the Lord's work is the most important. But the three things that I want to talk about just a minute that's been so important to me and get to where I'm going with this. One is the Lord's work and the call into the ministry and being available, being there when God, when He sent me when I was needed. I've been a little rough on some young preachers, and I know I have. I told one not long back, he made a comment about, this is a young man, he hadn't been preaching but a few years. He made a comment about having to get home to eat supper. And some way or another that day it just taught me the wrong way. And I said, there'll be times that you won't get to go home and eat supper. There'll be times you'll go somewhere else. I said, I learned real early. And I said, I gained 50 or 60 pounds grabbing a ski and a pack of nails and heading somewhere at supper time. I left. And I'm not telling this from a bragging standpoint. But I left James's birthday party one time to go to sit with a family that later gave me a cussing the next week. But that happens, doesn't it, Brother Leo? But now the second thing that has been important to me through my life has been my family. Connie and the boys and grandchildren. And they've been a big part of my ministry. We were laughing the other day. We lived here in Parsons. Connie fed people. And one Sunday morning I remember, and I probably shouldn't tell this, but a couple come to church, and y'all all know who it was. I told it. Said he's going to have to leave between Sunday school and preaching because they didn't bring a bottle for their baby. Oh. Connie went to the house and got a bottle and boiled it real quick and put some 2% milk or whatever kind we had in it, and they stayed for church. I told that to say that she's been a help. Well, last week during Kentucky Chambers, Mark had called. He was working on a house down between the Nantucket and Pierce. He'd say, well, if any of the neighbors say anything, he said, we got some tools out of the garage, or we got a ladder out of the barn. Then he called one night, he said, told Connie, he said, we had a child that got hungry, allergic to whatever food they had that day. He said, I just come over and got him a bologna sandwich. And I got him something out of the refrigerator. Now, they supported me. They've worked with, we've all worked together. And then, I'll let you know, I love the farm life. And I love the things that go with it. And I don't love the hard work. Better back up on that one. But I love to fool my cattle and my horses and those. And I began to wonder, as I got sick, what I was going to do. Whether we was going to have to sell the cattle, and boys have got more than they do, and all the time. And I really, it began to play on my mind and my emotions. And one day I was mowing the yard, and Connie normally mows the yard. I mow the banks and the ditches, and she loves to mow, and I let her mow. And I was mowing. I can take you real close to the spot where this happened. And it was just like the Lord began to speak to me. And He was speaking. And He said, you're going to get to a point that you can sell those cattle yourself. They're not going to have to sell them for you. And I didn't even tell the boys this till this week. I just kept that in the back of my mind. And, you know, I went on through getting ready for surgery and had to change doctors and to get a surgeon that could remove and do what needed doing. And the doctors worked that out and got all that worked out. And as I've already said, I was on prayer lists that all over the country, even in different states, and so thankful for that. I don't know why the Lord saw fit to spare me, except He just wasn't through with me. I sat and watched my brother die with lung cancer. And really, got to me. But as I went on, I kept questioning, you know, why did some get well and some not? But as I began to improve after the surgery and get my strength back, and the Lord hadn't given me any peace about retiring. I had tried. I had even, one of the doctors in Louisville had, not the surgeon, but another one had asked me when I was going to retire. He said, I'll sign you papers. And I couldn't get the peace there that I needed about that. And last week I had something happen that brought it all together. I went back to Louisville for a CT scan, and as I had that done and the test and all that goes with it, and then went to Dr. Martin, and he said, I can't see any signs of any cancer. He said, it's gone. And of course he was one that did the surgery and the experimental surgery on me. But they actually, that went in a lot of details. They did experimental surgery where they removed all they could remove, and then they did radiation while they was doing the surgery. very few hospitals in the United States doing it. And one of them is in Louisville. About 5 or 6 hospitals and doctors is all that's doing this. And God placed me with those people. Well, I left his office with a good report Monday afternoon. Now you can say this is corny or whatever you want us to call it. But Wednesday morning, James and Will and myself loaded a bunch of cattle and took them and sold them. And got back home and just got home. And Dr. Martin called and told Connie, said, you tell him that he's cancer free. I've had time to look at all the reports. And I'll see him in 6 months if he doesn't need anything beforehand. That peace that had started several months back there was confirmed Wednesday. Now, in order to this all to work out, the timing on it for us getting rid of the cattle, and we didn't get rid of all of them, but getting rid of some cattle and taking them, and the doctor calling was just in a matter of hours there together. And it made me more aware and made me realize more that scripture is so real and so true, where he owns it all.
Right.
He just lets us be caretakers. We're the stewards of what he's given us. He's placed some of us in different positions. Now, I can't build like Victor over here does. I can't work on cars and trucks and things like he can. He can do a lot of things. I can't do all that. God didn't give me that ability. But whatever our ability is, whatever our talents are, whatever our work, wherever he's placed us, he's in control and he owns it all. And that first verse that I read, for whether we live unto the Lord, and whether we die unto the Lord. Whether we live therefore or die, we are the Lord's. It said, for to this end Christ both died and rose, and revived, that he might be Lord both of the dead and the living. God wants to be Lord of all of our lives, just as we studied in the Sunday school lesson this morning. He's in charge. We have to come sometimes to odd times in our life to realize that. As long as things are going good, we just take it for granted. Or we may say, thank you, Lord. Thank you for this food. Thank you that you spared us and give us a safe trip. But he's in control. It's not in his will that everybody is healed. It's not. He said there when they brought someone to him that was born with disabilities, that the works of God might be manifest. He could have healed everybody that was going. He could have touched every life. He healed a lot of people that had come in contact with him. But I'm thankful today that we're serving a God that's still in control. You know, we grumble a lot. I'm sure there's not one of us in here that hadn't grumbled the last few days about the heat and the dry weather. He's already sent a little shower this morning. I don't know how much it rains, but he sends the rain when it's due. This morning, I hope that you've got something out of this to realize that God is in control. Let me thank you for your prayers, and as I've tried to thank everyone that I've come in contact with, but let me thank you for your prayers. Let me tell you, don't give up. There's times that things look bad, but God's still there, and He's with us. This morning, you may be going through trying times in your life that you may need to pray at your seat. You may need to come to the altar. I'll pray with you, Brother Leo, Brother Hadley, or any of the leaders here in the church, any of the lay members. I'll pray with you. Whatever you need, or they'll pray with you. Whatever you need. I look over this congregation and I see people that's been a big help in our ministry. And they've been there for us. And let's continue to be there for one another. Lois, would you come with him of invitation? Whatever God would have you to do this morning, you come, or you do it at your feet. Whatever you need to do, let's stand.
Number 183.
Boy, Thomas, you throw something at me, I'll still tell you. when I first came out here, and I aimed to do this during the message, and I just couldn't then. First moved out here, Boyd Thomas had the marathon station over here at town. There at the foot of Hospital Hill. I think his brother maybe had it before him. Bob Jean. Boyd Thomas come to me one day and he said, I want to tell you that if you get caught some night and need gas, you call me and I'll open up and fill your cart for gas.
Praise God.
And he said, you need to go somewhere. He said, I'll have enough money with me that we can get you back. And you know, I never did wake him up in the middle of the night to do that. But I found out a few years later that I think Bobby Jean made Brother Hadley the same also. And people like that have helped support the ministry and people going. And Boyd, I wanted to share it, so just don't hit me when I leave. Anybody got anything you want to say this morning? If you want to add to the service? Don't want to keep you here all day.
Thank you for coming this morning. We appreciate it. You and Brother Henry being here, very little kind kids. It just seems like we should have had a dinner. Like a home dinner.
Thank you, Becky. Anyone else?
Thank you for your testimony. Gives us heart, gives us courage to go on. Let us know that there's just one God and He's in charge of it all.
We're going to have service tonight, right, Ronnie?
Yeah.
Right. 6 o'clock Central Time? All right, I'll let you come back. We'll have service tonight.
No park.
Okay, no parking. Anything else before we go?
I thank God for being here this morning. Thank God for putting me in my path to be a friend and to know Him. I just thank God for that. I want to mention too that the Stinson family, it's got a little boy that's got leukemia. And they're raising money for him to help the family travel and expenses. Anybody that's been through Portland or, well, been around here very long knows that they played softball at the park over there. A lot of us here that play at the park, enjoy games. They're having a wiffle ball game this evening at 3 o'clock in the old time. And that's a form of them raising money. So if you can, go by there and donate or watch it. Ball game and see the park. They kind of cleaned it up. It looks like a park. But the main thing is to raise money for that family. The little boy got the family.
Already heard this, and if you need some more information, talk to Victor when it's over. How old is he, Victor?
See, 4 or 5.
4 or 5. Anyone else this morning before we go?
Well, you folks thank Jim Myers for his support, David here, his presence with us. Tell him how much I appreciate it. I know church
Looks good.
beautiful, isn't
It is. Anyone else? You know, sometimes we just need to stop and say thank you.
Well, my old heart's been blessed today by your testimony and seeing you and the good report you got. Praise the Lord. And I'm just so glad to see Brother Hadley here through here. We love them and miss them. Wish them all the best.
Anyone else before we go? A lot of friends here. Let's stand. Brother Hadley, would you dismiss us?
Heavenly Father, humbly I bow before you, overcome in many ways, but thank every time I think of Greasy Creek, I'm thankful. And we thank you for the blessings that we have enjoyed in this worship service. And Lord, for some reason it would be necessary for me to pray for that one or more than one that's in this service that's going through difficult times, that they have kept private and they are suffering alone. Father, you said you'd never leave us nor forsake us. You told us to cast our cares upon you, for you cared for us. And as we leave this service today, we claim those promises and we thank you for all that you've done. And by faith, we thank you for those things that are yet to be done by your grace and for your glory. In Jesus' precious name, I humbly pray. Amen.
Amen.